The show is brought to you by our generous patrons at patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast.
Robots Radio presents the Fallout Lorecast.
Welcome to the Fallout Lorecast, a place for the Fallout community to come together to explore the boundaries of our knowledge about the world of Fallout. Wastelanders, Vault Dwellers, welcome back to the Fallout Lorecast. As you can hear with me, there's some other sounds in the background because I am not alone this week. I've been doing a lot of these episodes by myself, but it's the end of the month. It's actually, we've been rolling into the next month a little bit on these patron episodes because things have been kind of busy, but it is March 1st because February is a very short month, and I am here with my patron friends to discuss the best or worst villains in the Fallout games. So I'm just going to jump right into this and introduce some of our patrons that are joining us this week. We've got Jaxus joining us. Jax, welcome to the show, buddy. How's it going?
Hello, everybody. I'm having a good time. I'm enjoying being here and ready to talk about some villains.
Yeah, and if you are joining us on the live feed of this, the live Twitch or YouTube stream, or you're checking this up on the YouTube, the actual Fallout Lorecast YouTube, you can see that Jax is petting his little gnome buddy on his shoulder right now. He's got a little gnome friend, and so welcome to Jax and his gnome. I'll be interested to find out your gnome's opinions about the villains as well. I don't know if he's played Fallout, but we'll find out about that. And we also have Lil Green joining us again. Lil Green, welcome back.
It's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back. And we also have Nova joining us. Nova, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so guys, villains. We're talking about the despicable underbelly, sometimes the underbelly, sometimes the upper crust, sometimes, the individuals in the Fallout universe that just drive us to do things a little bit, to try and make the wasteland a little bit better, or to seek revenge against those people who have wronged us. Oftentimes the antagonists in the series, just the worst of the worst. And I'm really interested to get your takes. I mean, oftentimes on this show, I've brought up some of the villains while talking about the stories and the lore. They come up a lot on this show, but I want to find out from you guys, who are the villains that really get under your skin? Who do you think are the most despicable characters in the series? And these don't have to be necessarily the big bads. They don't have to be the leaders of terrible factions or the most terrible individuals. They could be like personal vendetta people. They could be characters that from like specific quests that you were just like, oh my God, that one guy, I can't believe it. I just, every time I see his face. Yeah, right. I just can't stand his face. I just hate his guts. Some people just hate Preston Garvey, I did an episode about him, and some people were just like,
teeth in.
Yeah, some people they just don't like the guy because, just another settlement. Oh my God. But here's what I want from you guys. Is every time you adjust the microphone, it makes like sound. So
that's me. I'm sorry.
Oh, is that you? Is that Lil?
Yeah.
Oh, somebody's making a sound. So just be careful with that.
I thought it was me. I'm like,
yeah, I thought somebody was making
I started touching it thinking it was me.
Oh no. Well, be careful with that because I can't edit out all the sounds. So, but anyway, who would like to start? Who has a villain that just really gets under your skin, just makes the hair stand up on the back of your neck and gets you going?
Can't tell my hand is raised, so
yeah. Nova is not on camera right now. Nova, yeah, sorry, start us out.
Okay, so my villain has really been the foundation for the entire Fallout series, as to why the wasteland is the way it is and why the world the way it is. So going back 210 years, depending on which game you play, it is China.
Okay.
Disclaimer,
So
I'm not xenophobic. It's just from the lore itself.
Right. So in the lore, we're not talking in our world. We're talking in the world of Fallout and the United States versus China and the Great War.
Yes, exactly. And not even just the Great War itself, but also leading up to the Great War, everywhere from the European Commonwealth Middle East War to the Sino-American War to the Great War itself. The reason why I chose is because it was Chinese agents who conducted massive espionage throughout America and Canada during the European Commonwealth Middle East War, which started the Third Red Scare. One of these missions, they unleashed the Blue Flu in 2050s in Denver, Colorado, which was a hemorrhagic fever, which is a form of like similar to Ebola or Marburg, if you guys are familiar with that from 2014.
Oh man. Oh my God. Yeah. Yes. That is a terrible fate that you don't want to wish on anybody.
Yeah. Essentially your body just melts inside of it. So the inside of itself as your muscle matrices literally dissolve apart. So China annexed many small nations to gain resources while the world was hyper focused on Europe and the Middle East, kind of just duking it out. This is reminiscent of Japan's naval strategy during World War II called Nanshinro, or the Southern Strategy. So primarily they probably focused on Indonesia and their oil fields. Once those ran dry, though, they started the Sino-American War in 2066 by invading Alaska from the Seward Peninsula. Once they ran to the red, white, and blue brick wall of America, they used biological weapons to try and gain an advantage, biological and chemical weapons to try and gain an advantage. This prompted America to dive into the Panamanian Environment Project, PVP, which later became FEV. So that's where all that spawned from. I think it was about 2072. I think 2073, maybe, when they started using chemical and biological weapons, like unconventional warfare or weapons of mass destruction. Right. And then,
can I pause you there? Okay. So
yes.
So are what you're getting at is, I feel like I got a sense of where this is going. What you're getting at is, if it wasn't for China, we wouldn't have all of the issues in the wasteland as it is.
Yes, it wasn't for China. We would not have any issues that we see either in America or the wasteland itself. America wouldn't have the moral degradation that it had because it was through desperation that we had to start things like the FEV. It was because of that we had things like Little Yangtze, where they were using Chinese prisoners of war or American the people who were arrested simply. Okay, it was people who were arrested, or it was American deserters from the U.S. military who were used for biological experiments or for used to create these really like abominations, as we would call them, really abominations of science. Sure. And so it was through that where America became, I say we, is because we're American, but America became more dictatorship like, and so it became a dictatorship like, and became really the terrible country that we see without any moral regard for the civilian workers. And so the outcome of this was millions upon millions of lives lost during the Sino-American War, a tangent advancement of technology away from civilian development towards automation in the military, increased social tension because the war stripped resources away from the home fronts, aka there was resource riots and energy riots. And eventually it culminated with a total nuclear annihilation we see at the beginning of Fallout 4.
Right. So this is an interesting premise because you've got you kind of have a rising tide on both sides, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have, and so let me play devil's advocate here. Okay. So you have China using things like, and you're talking very despicable stuff here, chemical warfare, biological warfare, all of these terrible, terrible things in order to try to get the upper hand against the United States.
Yes.
And we know that they were falling behind when it came to military power. The United States was pushing ahead with technology and they couldn't keep up in this story. So they had to fight back somehow. So they were using stealth technology to try to fight back. And then, of course, like you explained, they were using chemicals. They were using biological stuff. And so the United States was trying to compensate. And then they, again, rising tide on both sides, pushed back in ways that were unethical, and things went back the other direction. And so therefore things kind of get worse on both sides, right? Everybody's getting more desperate and doing things on both sides. And so you're saying, so China is ultimately to blame because they're the ones who heightened this in the first place, which caused tensions to rise on the American side, and eventually everything went to hell.
Well, it sounds like not just because they heightened it, it's because they started everything. Because it was before the war even began, America unveiled the first fusion cell. And you know for a fact, like we know for a fact, just simply based off of how technology is spread around the world, that eventually fusion cells would have made their like fusion technology itself would have made its way into China if they didn't do this. Because like the reason why America was a sole proprietor of nuclear fusion energy like this is because all the resources that could have been made, it could have been used manufacturing, developing even further, were instead used on the war effort. And so like China never really invaded Alaska. Everything could have been completely different because like just nuclear or not even nuclear proliferation, but fusion technology proliferation across the world would have been a huge booming business that every single American company would have just been scrounging to get towards because they want to be the first in this country because the European market would have been tapped, the China market would have been tapped, the rest of Europe would have been tapped, Africa would have been tapped, and then this huge economic revolution that could have happened. But instead, the entire the entire U.S. economy was instead put on a war footing to fight China, the second largest economy on Earth, and like I don't know, they had like a 3 billion people population. I think I read when I created my first video on this. Long story short, I do lore videos on occasion, but like I think it's like China had a 3 billion population while America had 400 million like person population. So America had to develop these. Yes, so America had to develop these massive countermeasures, like power armor, for example, which was the like perfect, which essentially made a single man into a walking tank where he could, like it said in the lore, take out an entire town by itself. So like what I'm trying to get at is that if China never did this, the nuclear energy, fusion energy especially, would have completely revolutionized everything. It would have made oil obsolete. It would have made uranium and thorium obsolete. It would have made everything completely different. But so instead,
we could have had like a peaceful like coexistence rather than a warlike end. Yeah. I get where you're going with this.
If they just waited a couple years, but instead humans will be humans, I guess.
Right. We all can't necessarily share in all the nice things together. We all have to hoard them and make things difficult for each other. Yeah. I get where you're going with this. Let's open this up. Lil Green, Jax, what do you think? You guys have any thoughts on this?
Oh, Maverick join, cool.
The Chinese, like, are like the overarching. Not really the overarching. I guess you could say that they're like an overarching enemy, but they are like the only reason why we have the Fallout universe, I guess you could say, as we have it. Because without their aggression, the nuclear war wouldn't have happened. So but like the way that they got to the end point is also horrific. So
sure.
So like everything he's saying, like extremely valid points, and I never would have thought of even just saying the Chinese, because it's not something that you in main games go against, but like it's a theme of like in the background, like it's not like it's just like kind of brushed upon. No, it's like talked about throughout every single game in like either terminals, notes, or something like that. Yeah. So,
well, in Fallout 3 and 76, you both go up against the Chinese remnants in 3, and then the Liberator droids in 76, which could be considered Chinese military still. So
they are. I'll consider it. I'll give it to you.
Was it ever actually determined whether or not China was the first one to throw the bombs?
No,
or were they retaliating?
It's not for sure. I mean, there is some lore behind it, but it's hard to confirm the truth behind a lot of the statements.
I would say it was definitely the Chinese, because here's my little show notes that I have written down because I love being organized. So in 2074, America started countervision of mainland China, forcing the Chinese to shift resources from Anchorage towards the American beachhead at Shantou. As the invasion began to bog down, the invasion began to bog down because the Chinese were throwing so much at the beachhead. This gave America the breathing room to reorganize and put pressure on the Chinese still in Alaska and eventually push them out. That didn't happen until the deployment of T-51 Beast to power armor in 2076, however, which eventually began to steamroll Chinese forces in both Alaska and China, allowing General Chase to push the commies out of North America. And so once that happened, America was able to focus their entire entire military might on mainland China. So we know by 2077 that China was collapsing. Marines had cut all the way through, had cut north from the beach landing and began to launch attacks through the Gobi Desert. We know this from Clark, the survivalist, because his armor has. His armor, it might be Shanghai, I think his armor has. Well, we know U.S. Marines were fighting in the Gobi Desert, which is like a couple hundred miles away from the coast, from the Pacific coast. And then we know that there was a Nanjing and a Shanghai campaign as well. And so once Nanjing fell, that opened the route really for Beijing, which is the capital of China, because Nanjing is east of Beijing. It's just east of Beijing along the, I forget which river it is, but it's the main river of China though. And so like this really just shows that China was collapsing because America had already taken out a lot of their major cities, had already cut over 100 miles into their territory in attacks, and was just literally assaulting every single part of China, and that Chinese forces really couldn't hang on to this. And also says inside lore that Chinese supply lines were collapsing everywhere. So they couldn't hold on to the territory they had. They couldn't fight back in any ways. They were just simply done for. And so in my mind, I'd say it's almost definite that the Chinese were the ones who launched the nuke as almost a last act of petty revenge, saying if we can't win the war, you're not going to win it either.
Yeah, but again, devil's advocate, likelihood doesn't necessarily confirm actuality. So just because
my brain exploded in knowledge.
just because something is the most likely thing doesn't mean that there's confirmation that it is actually what happened. And there are a lot of other pressures going on in the world for other things. There are a lot of other contingencies. So, and this is a video game. The lore as written by the developers and what actually happens isn't revealed, and nothing. And from my correspondence and talking with the game developers, nothing is canon in these games until it's actually in the games. So the truth of the matter here is that no game actually states who dropped the bombs. So the actual truth about who dropped the bombs is that it's like Schrodinger's cat. It's not been stated yet. So therefore, there is no truth.
It'd just be conjecture.
It's all conjecture. So until we get a game that actually tells us this is who drops the bombs, then there is no truth. And that's a hard. Actually, let's back up a step. That's a hard meta truth for a lot of people to understand, because a lot of people are going to be like, oh my God, no, I was so convinced it was the Chinese, or I was so convinced it was Vault-Tec or whoever. But the truth of the matter is, until it shows up in a game, there is no actual factual truth as to who actually did it, because it hasn't showed up in a game yet. So even though you're right, China is the most likely culprit, doesn't mean that that's going to be what actually gets decided should that ever show up in a game. And my guess is that just like in, say, the Elder Scrolls with whatever happened to the Dwemer, this is going to be one of those things that they never tell us. This is going to be one of those things that they always let us wonder about. And this becomes one of those things we debate on podcasts like this until the end of time. But we never actually get a honest to goodness, definitive, this is exactly what happened. It will always be, it's an 80% chance it was China, and it was a 15% chance it was Vault-Tec and whatever. But we never really, really, really know.
Yeah, I was just
chance it was us.
just America saying screw you. Yeah, I was just basing this off of just what I could read in the lore and what we know from the game, because we know from the survivors, that's his name, Randall Clark, that that the armor he got was serving in Shanghai, and Shanghai is a massive city, and if Shanghai was under attack, we know that China was in pretty desperate straits. Sure, and so
but who knows? Maybe they were about to turn things around. We don't know. We're just because we have that information, and on top of it, just like any other, we are in the age of propaganda information, right? Think about all the information that we're getting right now from all sorts of sources that is not 100% correct on purpose. And this is another devil's advocate thing here right now. With the information that we have about the Chinese-American conflict, most of what we have in the games is from the American perspective. Yeah. And it's hundreds of years later. So it's going to be couched and framed in all of this pro-American perspective. So
it's going to be so skewed.
It's going to be extremely skewed.
America.
Yeah. So like, who's to say what the actual hard facts are for any of that stuff? Because it's all coming from the lens of a pro-American perspective, or at least a lot of it is. And some of it in a much harder pro-American perspective than others. So there's a lot of variables there, but I totally get where you're going. But
yeah, we only have one source though to go off of it, and so we're going to base everything we know off of that, because there's no way to get a different view other than what we're provided. Otherwise, you just go into the land of like really can either conjecture or just like writing your own stories about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, China's an interesting villain, especially for the US, and the kinds of tactics they used are, very different than the kinds of things the US used. So really, really interesting perspective, and a lot of cool facts you brought. Maverick, welcome to the show, buddy. We didn't get to introduce you. I'm glad you were able to make it. How's it going? Hello.
Good.
So let's move this in another direction. I know some of you guys have some other villains. We're talking villains, Maverick, our favorite villains in the series. Lil Green, you've been on the show a number of times. Do you have a favorite villain? Let's move on to you.
I think I have two that come to mind, honestly, but the one that really gets underneath my skin, honestly, is Caesar, just because of the atrocities that you come across when you're dealing with him. It is ungodly in my eyes.
Yeah, New Vegas.
Brilliant.
Yeah, megalomaniac, total psychopath.
Old Testament. That's the best way to put it.
Old
it's just
Testament.
Like he does not care about it. He doesn't care about the modern society. He just cares about what he thinks is right, and absolute power. And the way he goes about it is terrifying.
Yeah.
When you really put yourself into it. Yeah.
Do you have an example that really, really gets to you the most?
I think the first time when you really come across the Legion, I forgot was it? No, it's not Novak.
Nipton. Yeah.
And you just see people crucified up and down the road, and it's just the town is laid to waste, everything's on fire, and it's just like, why? Because you see, I think you see not only civilians but also the powder gangers. I'm just like, what happened? And why would you do this? And then you go to where they're
scare tactics.
Yeah, and then you just go to where the Legion is, and you see slaves, walking around. I'm just like I thought this was stuff of the past, but no, it's not. It's
Roman times, but 2 times, 3 times worse.
Yeah. Well, here's the scary thing is that there are places on the planet where things like that still happen. And, thankfully we live in a society where that is very rare. Yeah. But yeah, no, and that's, I mean, this is one of the warnings of games like this. And this is one of those things that people well, if anybody complains on a review, they're like, oh, I can't believe he gets too political on the show. And it's like, no, have you played Fallout? Have you paid attention to the stories in this freaking game? That's the whole point of this game.
All politics.
Yeah. The whole point of this game is that
politics and war.
Yeah. The whole point of this game is that we're on the knife's edge of falling back in to freaking the dark ages. A few bombs go off and all of a sudden we're in nuclear winter, and
especially
human beings.
Now, thanks, Putin.
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I know, right?
But we're on the knife's edge of just falling back into the dark ages and treating each other like absolute garbage and crucifying people on the side of a road. This is human beings, and this is how human beings treat each other. And it hasn't been until, I don't know, only so many generations of people in certain parts of the world that we've all agreed to start treating each other like actual human being, peers and rule of law. And even that is kind of on a slippery slope sometimes, where some people just get a pass because they make more money than other people. And that still happens in the world, in our own society. Like,
Yeah.
Blatantly.
yeah, like all of this stuff, and to bring that up on a podcast like this, people are like, "You're taking the fun out of my video game time," and it's like that's what this game is about. Haven't you noticed? Like, I don't know. Anyway, I'll get off my.
Your head must be in the sand.
I'm getting off my soapbox here.
Must be in the sand
It's like,
at this point.
where were you at?
Right, that's what every story in this game is about, things like that. But anyway, but Kaisar is absolutely the poster child for, what happens when you put a megalomaniac in charge of a society of people who don't stand up against him.
Yeah.
And then he just wants more power, and he does everything he can to assassinate and destroy everybody in his path. Man, that sounds just like somebody else who's in the news a lot right now.
You forgot he's also a LARPer.
Yeah, and he's a LARPer. Right. Yes, absolutely. That's man.
But no, the second person that I had, it's kind of more of a, I don't know if you would consider him a villain though, but Pikmin from 4. Going into his house, it's shock factor. So because because he's one, a serial killer, but he also creates art out of people's bodies.
Mm-hmm.
So that was Pikmin. Like, he's a serial killer and he creates art using their blood and other parts of their bodies.
Yeah,
if I remember that correctly.
That oh god, yeah, that reminds me of.
That's a new one for me.
How do you spell his name?
Pikmin. Pickman.
Pickem, isn't it?
Oh. I just looked it up too.
Pikmin?
Pikman.
He's honestly more of an anti-villain, I would say, because the people he kill is exclusively raiders.
That's true. It's been a while since I've come across played 4, but he's just someone that stuck out in my mind of
raiders specifically.
This guy was brutal, but even still, but it's still the fact that
that's making vigilantism okay.
Yeah.
What you're saying is brutal. And he
you mean like a waste man, Batman?
I'm thinking more like Punisher.
Yeah, there you go. It's more of a Punisher.
More like Punisher.
Yeah,
Okay,
but he's kind of more sadistic than that. So here's the fallout.
You guys launch mini nukes at raiders. What do you mean sadistic?
Well, it's one thing to blow somebody up. It's another thing to, well, here, let me read this is the fandom.com article. It says, Pikmin is a man with a strong dislike for raiders, killing anyone who wanders into his home. So he's protecting his home, so not so bad. While generally presenting himself as a collected and polite, he is actually extremely disturbed, casually mentioning his hobby of collecting the raiders' heads. He keeps a collection of their heads. Yeah.
I just casually bringing it up in conversation, kind of like a food allergy.
Yeah. So it's one thing to be like, yeah, we need to get rid of the raiders. Let's kill them. That's good, right? Okay, these people are terrorizing regular people and trying to live their lives. Let's get rid of them. It's another thing to be like, and now I'm going to collect all their heads and take the heads back to my house and decorate. That's the part that gets a little bit probably not a good idea. I
just see him humming a tune while he's carrying a couple heads down the hallway.
Right. Maybe he's good at juggling them. He's like, entertainment time. Which raider heads should I juggle today?
Oh man,
this kind of reminds me of Funko Pops. I don't know why I'm just getting the Funko Pop idea, just my Funko Pop collection,
because the heads are real big on Funko Pops.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, those are the two people that I have come to mind, just because it's more of a I guess it's they have massive shock factor when you come across them. One of them is really a small encounter when it comes to Pikmin, but Kaisar, he's there throughout the entire game, and his Legion is there throughout the entire game too. So it's hard to escape him.
And both are disturbed.
In New Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both are very disturbed. So I think you've got that going.
He's incredibly powerful. I mean, the Legion, that group is, he took out 57, or I think I found out it was even more than that. He took out almost 100, 87. Yeah. Different societies. And he didn't just beat them. He turned them to their side, his side. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot. There's a big power grab in the history behind that. Yeah. Well, guys, it's the middle of the show. We're going to take a break. I'm going to thank you guys, the patrons, and we're going to read out a review, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk with Jaxus and Maverick about your favorite villains. So be ready for that. So here we go. It's time for that spring reset. I'm taking a look at everything in my closet and figuring out that, oh no, this absolutely needs to go. And it's about time I replace things so that my clothes aren't older than my 15-year-old. Now you might think that they lasted that long because they were well made, but no, they're in terrible condition. Unlike the new jeans I just got from Quince. Jeans have always been my personal go-to because you can kind of wear them for lots of different things, but maybe they're not your thing. Maybe you're looking for, 100% European linen with insanely soft flow knit activewear fabric. It's definitely getting warmer, and their flow knit activewear is moisture wicking, anti-odor, and soft enough that you'll actually want to wear it every day. So pick out what you want. You can't go wrong because they have prices 50 to 60% less than similar brands. And like I said before, they are high quality. I continue to wear their clothes all the time, and I know that these new jeans are going to last me a lot better than the other things in my wardrobe. And on top of it, they look great. They're so comfortable, and I spent just as much on the jeans that I am now cleaning out of my wardrobe. So if you're looking for something better, just all around better, go check out Quince. So go do it right now. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/falloutlore for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. Go to quince.com/falloutlore for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/falloutlore.
Hello there, old chap. Good to see another of General Atomic's finest, still eager to serve.
And you know what? We've got a new patron to welcome, Austin W. Welcome to the Patreon. Thank you for signing up, and welcome to everybody. Thank you to everybody, all 46 of our patrons. Thank you to all of you guys for helping to support the Patreon. You guys help make this a full-time career for me, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. This has been a dream job and something that has completely changed my life. So thank you to all of you for making this a big deal for me personally. And if this show has helped you stay, entertained at work or driving to work or while working out or while making is that a dog hand puppet? While making hand puppets, then go to patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast and check out all the different tiers where you can get things like ad-free episodes or join us on a future episode just like this where we talk about our favorite villains or whatever else in the future, or get t-shirts and those kinds of things because we've got those on the Patreon. But thank you to all of you guys, and just from the bottom of my heart, so much. I really, really do appreciate it. And we have a new review. This one, I think there was a mistake here because it says 1 star, but I think they meant to click 5 stars. Maybe misclicked or something went wrong with that. But I think this is a 5-star review because Escaped Soul 01 wrote, "Hooked. I started listening to this podcast after hearing about it in a Discord for a different show. I gave it a listen and am now hooked. The questions that are posed in the episodes are exactly what my brain ponders all the time. The lore in Fallout is so interesting, and the hours that Robot spends researching is top notch. Thank you for the show, and thank you for the hours of entertainment." So I think that's supposed to be a 5-star review, not a 1. It doesn't sound like they're upset with the show. So thank you, Escaped Soul. If you wouldn't mind going back and maybe re-clicking the number of stars to not 1, that would be super helpful. But thank you for taking the time to leave a rating and a review. And anybody else who does so will get read out on a future episode of the show for Apple Podcasts. And also, you can also leave a rating on Spotify if you listen on there. And I know more than like half of our listeners do listen on there. So if you just take a second to go do that, I would really appreciate it. And that's what we got for the middle of the show. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. Let's go back to our patrons and talk more about evil villains. Here we go.
If you have any questions about Nuka World, I'd be delighted to answer them.
All right. We got a gnome.
Leave the 2 dudes that do it in our own podcast.
Yeah. We're gonna this half of the show is brought to you by the Fallout Roundtable. Jaxus, let's move on to you, buddy. What do you think about when you think about terrible people who make your skin crawl?
So, all right. So this particular individual is the only person in the game that I can think of that gave me a true emotional response. Okay, so I'm sitting inside my carbonated chamber, and this guy walks up and he snatches my kid and shoots my wife, and I'm trapped. And that sensation that I felt, even though I was in the game, Kellogg really made me mad. Like, I was actually upset. I was upset. You know, I'm like, I can't get out of this thing. I can't do anything. It created that feeling of being trapped, even though I was sitting here and not in a video game. But
it's pretty messed up.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, like that's the beginning of the game.
It is. It is.
Whoa, sorry, Maverick. You're. I think the internet's kind of messing up your voice. Try and say that again. Uh-oh. I think we might have lost.
Actually connect to the Wi-Fi here.
Okay, do your best to reconnect, and then we'll get back to you. But I was about to say, Jaxus, that the beginning of Fallout 4, we find out that you have a family, you spend time with your kid, you talk to your wife, you hang out with Mr. Handy, you know, like everything's good, and all of a sudden everybody's hurrying to the vault, and everything seems fine. You get in your little chambers, you can see your spouse across the way with your child, and then all of a sudden he shows up and he takes it all away from you.
Precisely. And that's a crush. I guess I put it in perspective because I have children. I have a wife.
Yeah.
You know, so for me, I put myself in the shoes when I'm playing the game.
Yeah.
So I had an emotional attachment to that moment. I was very angry. And I hunted him immediately after I got out of there. I was dead set on finding him.
Yeah, so in Fallout 4, that's one of the first things you do. That's like one of the, like, if you follow the main story missions, it's like, that's one of the first things you do is like figure out what happened to your child. Okay, who is this Kellogg guy? Go find him. Like, that's pretty early on in the storyline. So that, did you just kind of beeline it?
Oh, yeah, right to him. I was after him. Like, I was that pissed. Like, it probably took me about 3 or 4 hours to actually get to him.
Yeah. 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 So when you find him, there's that moment where you approach him and he's pretty chill and he's like, all right, so you decided to come for me. I thought eventually you would, you know, like there's that whole dialogue thing.
Right.
How did you feel when he was so like, he's pretty nonchalant?
I wanted to just immediately attack, but like, you know, going through the process, him starting to talk about, you know, him having implants and all that other stuff is, you know, trying to get you to feel sympathy. I felt none. You just didn't care. I was just waiting until it was over. Yeah. Keep talking. Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah. And then there's the whole part. There's a whole part where we actually see some of like the background where we do the whole, like, the brain thing.
The memory lounger.
The memory lounger. Yeah. That whole thing. And you can get to see some of the background and stuff. That is still nothing. You're just like, nope. No sympathy for this guy.
Nope, he killed my wife, man.
Yeah.
I got to ghost him. Even if I had any, now mind you, there was a softening, but it was more of an understanding of his situation. But he still handled his situation poorly, very poorly. Right. So he dealt with the consequences of his actions for sure.
Yeah, I gotcha.
With his life.
With his life. All right. It sounds like we've got Maverick back. You were gonna chime in and say something, Maverick.
Well, I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. What do the rest of you guys think when it comes to Kellogg?
I mean, yeah, he is a rather memorable person because of his actions, but he's someone that I feel like you don't see too much in the game, so he's not the most memorable. Because, yeah, you see him in the beginning of the game. He does shoot your spouse and take your kid. Mm-hmm. But after that, like, you really don't see him until, like, you're, like, trying to kill him and, or deal with him, like, throughout the game. So, but like, you know, he is someone that I do remember from 4. So, you know, I don't know.
He's a memorable character. He definitely...
he's memorable. I won't deny that.
Yeah, definitely.
So
no, I won't deny it either. I'm just gonna say that how I remember him is that he's your first taste of the wasteland after hundreds of years of being cryotubed and then you somehow get woken up to see this, and then you get froze back up. Yeah, you got to be cooking and being mad, thinking about that entire time. So yeah, I can see where all that's coming from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nova, what do you think?
All I have to say is he aged very well. Okay, so like whenever I think of, I just said Maverick. Oh my God, I would say Kellogg. Whenever I think of Kellogg, I think of really the face of the Institute, because like he's the one who the Wastelanders fear the most, because they don't know anything about Father. They don't know anything about the scientists. They don't know anything about the different divisions. Like right. they either think of the synths, or if they did encounter Kellogg, that's what they think of, because he works for the Institute. He's their field operative. He's the one who does all the dirty work for them, so the Institute doesn't have to get their own hands dirty. They just supply him with the forces and the technology and the equipment he needs. And so that's why I think of, whenever I do think of Kellogg, because he's like he's the halfway villain, the big bad until you begin to understand of like what the entire scope of the Institute.
Yeah, he's your first introduction. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, to Jaxus's point, he does some really terrible things right from the beginning. Like, oh yeah, your first impression of him is not very good.
Yeah, it's not good at all. No, it is.
So I'd like to add a little something. When you finally meet up with him again, he kind of reminds me of if anyone's seen the Book of Boba Fett, haven't seen the Book of Boba Fett, there's spoilers coming up. Okay, so spoilers. If you're planning to watch the Book of Boba Fett, it's new, so jump ahead.
Great
a few
TV
minutes.
show.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of reminds me that nonchalant Cad Bane.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I get where you're going. I mean, yeah, anybody who's kind of, he's kind of that bounty hunter kind of personality. Yeah. He reminds me so much, it makes me sick. Okay, I gotcha. All right.
But yeah. Wait a minute,
Maverick, didn't you say in a previous episode that you would be a bounty hunter in the Wasteland?
You did. I just listened to that episode.
I think I just listened to that like yesterday.
Story, though. Funny thing was, I think we were talking about it yesterday. Somehow, somewhere. I don't remember.
Yeah,
I know. I just heard it though. I think I just listened to that episode.
Yeah,
I listened to it either yesterday or like 2 days ago or something like that, because I've been slowly working. I'm at like October of last year, because I've been slowly working through all your episodes as I work every day. I remember that now. So I'd be a bounty hunter, and he's complaining about bounty hunters now in this episode.
He's a different kind of bounty hunter, though.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah, he's a different kind of. I just go after people, and I just go after good-looking people.
So you're after that kind of bounty, huh?
Okay, all right. Well, so Kellogg's a good one. Maverick, since we're talking with you now, what villain really gets under your skin?
So everyone knows that I am a Enclave buff. Big Enclave buff, but this time I'm going to play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
I'm going to say Fallout 3, John Henry Eden.
Okay. I just did an episode on John Henry Eden.
I know, I just listened to it.
Yeah, so you're okay, so you're saying that John Henry Eden is your favorite villain, is the one that really gets under your skin right now?
Right now he is.
Wow, okay.
It fluctuates depending on the day and what mood I'm in.
Yeah, well, I get you. Yeah, I can totally understand that. Okay, so why John Henry Eden?
Well, he's like the perfect bad guy. He is, of course, if you haven't played Fallout 3 either. Wow.
It's fine. It's like, a Lorecast, and that game is over 10 years old. So
he is a supercomputer.
Mm-hmm.
He is an AI supercomputer that tries to convince you that the Enclave is good. We're trying to that Project Purity is bad or whatever. India has all these iBots going around saying, "Oh, we are the saviors of the wasteland" or whatever. or like join the U.S. government is back. We're coming to help, but even though they're doing the complete opposite.
Yeah. So, the trick here with John Henry Eden is that he's trying to save America for the non-Wastelanders, right? For the Enclave members and the Vault Dwellers who hadn't been out there and exposed to the remnants of the FEV virus. Because once the updated virus gets out there, it's going to kill everything that's been exposed to it. Which means the majority of the wasteland is just going to die. So anybody who is convinced that they're their saviors by those iBots and the propaganda is eventually just going to get killed by them anyway, which is super disturbing and dark. What do you think about it, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why you think he's terrible, or it's terrible. I mean, it's a computer that's pretending to be a person.
It's not even a he or she.
Right.
It's an it.
Right.
It's cold-blooded thinking computer. It's not even a human, like Caesar.
Right. Well, it's self-aware. Here's what's also crazy about it is it's a program, it's a computer, but it's become self-aware. It is a thinking machine that is now self-aware. It is sentient. Yes. It may not have empathy and human emotions, but it is self-aware as much as you or I are.
It's actually a life form.
It is a person in the same way as you and I are. It tries to keep itself alive. It has self-awareness. It has objective, rational thought. It it has a working memory. It has a lot of the same functions that you or I would. It just doesn't have. It's not a human. So if you can wrap your mind around what that is even like, because we don't have anything that's like that yet.
Also, would Johnny Henry Eden even be for the Vault Dwellers? Because if I remember correctly, in Fallout 2, they slaughtered most of Vault 13 to the survivors.
Right. He's not for the Vault Dwellers. It's just just a side effect, because any of the Vault Dwellers who have not made it out into the surface yet haven't necessarily been irradiated. They haven't been it's not even radiation. They haven't been exposed to the FEV that's out in the wasteland. So they also wouldn't be killed off. So the point is that there are members of the Enclave who haven't been out and exposed to the FEV. So the solution is that if they can get rid of everything that has been exposed, then the only things that are left would be members of the Enclave and anyone else who hasn't been exposed, which is it's the closest thing to wiping everybody out that is potentially a hazard all in one fell swoop. And the only things that would be left would be Enclave and anybody else that's been hiding somewhere and just hasn't been out in that, as far as I know, is potentially people in vaults.
All right.
Yeah, hiding in a hole like Vault 101.
Yeah, like in a hole, or maybe some people like in the Institute, like that have who are potentially born in the Institute and then just never left. So like somebody like that maybe. But outside of that, everybody in the wasteland would be dead.
I'm just gonna say I bet the people in the Institute all have at least some minor FEV exposure, considering they're the ones who made all the mutants within the capital wasteland. Just there's at least one minor break, like containment breaks. So probably not even the people in the Institute either.
Yeah, potentially, or if groups have had, like, for example, because Vault 101 has been open to the surface and people have been coming and going, then chances are that Vault 101 is actually infected. Even though a lot of people in Vault 101 would think that they're not because of the misinformation. So chances are the people in the Institute are actually infected, even though a lot of them would believe that they're not.
This actually opens up a huge can of worms as well, because there means the viral load they have to reach before you actually begin to exhibit symptoms of FEV exposure.
Well, this is also the FEV after 200 years. So the FEV has continued to mutate, and it's also, I believe at this point, has degenerated. So it's almost like a background level of virus exposure. Think of it like one of the theories around the coronavirus is that, in fact, here's a fact for you. The common cold is a type of coronavirus.
Yes.
And the fact that we get the common cold and we keep getting the common cold is that it's a coronavirus. It's a coronavirus that has mutated and continued to mutate for years and years and years and years and years. The COVID-19 form of the coronavirus is a new form of coronavirus that has now entered the population over the last few years and continues to mutate. And one of the theories is that the reason why the newer variants are less lethal is that any form of virus that continues to kill the hosts and stay too lethal will eventually burn itself out because it can no longer keep itself around because it will kill its hosts. So the default form of a virus, in order to make sure that it can stick around, is to stop killing its hosts. So eventually COVID-19 will become less and less and less lethal, which means it will eventually turn from pandemic to endemic, which means it will be more like the common cold eventually than it will like a lethal virus. So something like the FEV in the wasteland could eventually become something that exhibits less and less symptoms and become something that people just pass around and shows almost no signs of anything. So the creatures that were mutated and showed extreme amounts of, infection and then turned into ghouls and all sorts of terrible things 200 years in the past, like right after the Great War, and created all these terrible things. 200 years later, eventually people are just passing around much weakened forms of the virus and everyone has it. But for most people, it doesn't really do anything anymore.
Science.
But that doesn't mean that there aren't like heightened forms of it or more lethal strains that are out there that you could possibly get. But it does mean that most people have probably come across some strain of it somewhere.
I was just wondering if there's actually a tipping point, or if it's like if it's just a slow process for it to cell divide to create self like new copies within yourself. If it takes such a long time for someone who is newly infected with even a single strain, because there's no. Well, like presumably if you're brand new infected and you never experienced it before, you would have zero immunity to it. I was wondering if it's such a slow development, like where the cells split so slowly where you didn't exhibit any symptoms, or if there's actually a tipping point or a viral low they have to reach before you begin to do that.
I think it depends on the strain. Like if you're infected with a very minor strain, like getting the common cold, if it's something that your body is able to just fight off really easily, you may not even show any symptoms at all. But your immune system has responded and now you have a basic defense for it. And at the same time, you may have remains of the viral strain in your system. So going back to John Henry Eden, he's engineered, or his scientists have engineered an updated form of the FEV that attacks anybody who has any form of the virus in their system, I believe, and now uses that against them and kills them. It's like it turns it back on and basically sabotages their bodies or something like that. So
self-destruct switch.
Yeah, it's like a self-destruct switch. So like the fact that you even had it in your system ever at all means that you are now able to be killed by this new strain of the virus. And I mean, it's all like, story magic, but whatever.
Well, I love science fiction for that reason.
Right. So, but that just basically means anybody who ever came across that, even the weakest strains of it that just passed around like a common cold that they never even showed any symptoms of having, they're potentially killed. So to go back to Maverick's point, that is extremely sadistic because nobody even knows it's coming, and it potentially shows up in the water, and they drink some water one day, and the next thing they know, their bodies are, rebelling against them and they die. Nobody knows why. And it was because they trusted a message from an iBot saying that they need to trust the Enclave because they are the saviors of the wasteland, bringing back America. And people wonder why this podcast gets political.
Yeah.
Propaganda.
Propaganda.
So yeah, it's pretty sadistic. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think it's pretty terrible.
I mean,
but the old scientific trope will save humanity by killing humanity.
Yeah. Trust us. We're to be trusted. Pay no attention to the virus or the medicine in the water. It'll be fine. and then everyone dies.
Didn't President Dick Richardson do that before? Also, like he was attempting the same thing,
but his was airborne though. This is completely different. Right. It's waterborne.
Yeah. Fallout 3 was a lot of the Bethesda Fallouts are callbacks to a lot of the stuff that showed up in 1 and 2. But yeah, he was in Fallout 2. Yeah, Dick Richardson. I love it because it's like he has the same name twice.
I was gonna say, isn't that like the same name twice?
Right.
It's just Dick's son.
Yeah, he's like Dick.
It really describes his character. A dick.
Yeah, he's like a double dick.
He's a shark, is what you're saying.
Oh boy.
Oh man. Yeah, if you guys don't know, you need to go look up Dick Richardson. Look up his picture online because they've got like the image.
I'm looking at it right now. I've been looking at it.
He's a handsome dude. He's for sure. He's like this balding, pale looking.
You remember
guy.
the bitter beer face commercials?
Bitter beer face? What?
Yeah, the commercials with the bitter beer face guy. No. Yeah, guy would drink a bad tasting beer and his face would scrunch up. That's what this guy
kind of looks like him. I'm sure somebody gets the reference. I don't remember it. All right, guys. Well, man, these are some good villains. I would love to hear some of our listeners, and I'm sure that there's a lot of villains out there. I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on some of the villains that we didn't bring up. Feel free to share those in the Robots Radio Discord and let us know if there's a villain that tops any of the ones that we've brought up for you specifically. Please point them out and tell us why, and we'll continue the conversation on the Discord. Guys, thank you for being here. This has been awesome. We're going to go back through, and I'm just going to go in order as who's on the screen. And if there's something that you are working on, a project that you've got going that you want to shout out or ways people can get a hold of you, feel free to share that. And we're going to start with Jaxus. Jaxus, thanks for being on, buddy. This has been awesome.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me here. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, dude. Now, I know you're a part of a podcast.
So you just want me to give me my spiel?
You do your spiel, dude. Yeah, you and Maverick.
Our spiel at this point?
Yeah. Both you and Maverick are a part of
the Fallout Roundtable. That's right. We get together with 5 individuals. We sit around and we discuss various topics throughout the Fallout universe. And we would love for everybody to come to our Discord and give us all kinds of suggestions for show ideas and give us their opinions on the shows we've already done. We want the communication. We want the community. That's for sure. You can find us you can send us an email at falloutrtb@gmail.com, or you can go to our Twitter, which is at falloutrtb. Did I say that right? At falloutrtb. Yes, I did. Okay. You can follow me on my Twitch. My handle there is at Jaxus1975. And for all other social medias, that is the same name. You can also email me at jaxus@gmail.com. And I am working on a few things, but it's not the time or the place. I got more pieces to move and things
secrets.
like that.
Secrets.
Yeah, I got some solo stuff going on too. So
awesome. Yeah. Well, I'll just have to wait to find out, but that's exciting. These guys are a part of the Robots Radio Rocket Club, which are a lot of the shows that have joined, or creators, I should say, that have joined the Robots Radio Network. New creators launching new shows and we meet once a week, and we all work together to help guys like this launch their shows and grow their shows and work on stuff together. So it's awesome. I'm glad you guys are part of the group, and your podcast is available on all the different platforms. So whatever you're listening to this show on right now, just go look them up. Robots Rocket Club, Fallout Rocket Club. My brain is mush. But there you go. The Robots Rocket Club. No, the Fallout Roundtable. That's the thing you should look up, because the other thing is not a podcast. So there you go. Thanks, Jaxus. All right. Lil Green, thank you for joining us. You got anything cool going on?
Right now, I'm working on a couple small personal, creative projects, but I'm going to keep them under wraps until I'm ready to announce them. But other than that, I really have nothing going on.
All right, dude. Well,
my wedding season started as a photographer, so I'm busy.
Yeah, spring's coming, huh?
Oh, God, yeah, I can't wait for it.
All right, dude. Well, thanks for being here. It's always nice to have you.
It's It's always a pleasure being here.
Yeah, dude. Nova, what do you got going on?
Well, work mostly. I work like 10 hours a day, something like that. If you want to chat, just DM me or at me in the server. I'm always open to talk. I have a YouTube channel at Supernova. That's I just mostly do lore videos for Fallout, Halo, and Call of Duty and other things like that. Mostly zombies, or mostly Fallout. Occasionally, the other two though. Twitter is Supernova 13. Kind of got in late on that one. Like I said, if you want to chat, just hit me up in DMs or at me in the Discord. I'd love to talk to you. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. And Maverick. Oh yeah, dude. And Maverick, other than the Fallout Roundtable, you got anything else going on?
Yeah. Well, I'm always busy with driving everywhere. Everyone knows that.
Yep. Truck life.
Truck life and recording at the same time. It's always a fun time.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah, go along with what Jax just said. We just released episode number 4 yesterday. So
yeah, man, already 4 episodes in. It's been like a month already. Where's the time go? Go? Well, cool. Well, guys, thanks. Go ahead.
Yeah, pretty much nothing much else. So
awesome. Okay. Well, I look forward to chatting with you guys again next month. If you decide to join me again, that would be awesome. And I will be back next week with another topic for our regular episode. And I've got some big news. I recently launched the Lord of the Rings Lorecast. That's my new show.
Ooh.
So this is my new personal project. It's a show I'm doing by myself. I launched the first episode just this last week, and I'm starting with the creation of everything, and I'm going through in order of events for the lore and the background of Middle Earth and all that stuff. And I'm super excited about it. I'm putting a lot of work into it, and I hope you guys will take a listen. It's up on everything now, so you should be able to find it. So again, wherever you're listening to this, look it up. And sometimes the search engines for things like Apple Podcasts and stuff are a little tricky because they will put the shows that have been around longer or have more reviews to the front. So just type in Lord of the Rings Lorecast, and it should come up if you type the whole title. So go look it up. It's available for everywhere. And I'm very excited about it. I've taken a lot of the things I've learned from doing shows like this and incorporated it into that show. And I think it's going to be awesome. So I'd love to hear some of your feedback on that show as well. But that's what I've got going on. And again, you can check out all of my shows and all the shows on the Robots Radio Network at robotsradio.net. And of course, there's shows that I'm doing, including live streams and games and things like that on the Robots Radio YouTube channel and on Twitch and all that stuff most nights during the week. So lots of podcasts, live podcasts, and video games to watch and all sorts of things. So again, thank you for being here, everybody. This has been awesome. What a wonderful discussion. And I will see you guys again later. Have a good rest of your week. And until then, try not to turn into an evil villain that gets under people's skin, because nobody likes you villains. You guys are terrible. All right. We'll see you guys later. Bye, everybody.
Later.
To plug into everything else we're doing, check out robotsradio.net. Also, look up the Robots Radio YouTube for videos about Fallout and other things. And check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/robotsradio.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.